Hi, the Black Talk Media Project would like to invite you to become a member of the BTR Community subscription-based social media platform. BTR Community is a platform that was set up for the listening audience of Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent Black radio network online. For just $24 per year, your subscription gives you access to an interactive space to share information with like-minded people with your privacy guaranteed. Your subscription will go a long way to help us maintain and improve our current media platforms. It will also help provide a budget so that we can begin the task of establishing localized media centers and radio stations across the United States. The best way to show your support and appreciation for what we do here at Black Talk Radio is to subscribe. Help us to help you be informed. Join btrcommunity.com today.
The views and opinions expressed by callers, guests, and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of the Black Talk Radio Network and Black Talk Media Project. Black Talk Radio is new black media for the new millennium.
Well, hello, everybody. You are joining us for another episode of Black in Business Radio. Today is Thursday, January 25th, 2018, and this is our fourth show of the year. I am going to start archiving this information so that it's easier for you to find. How's everybody doing tonight? I see that we have several guests joining us. Now, tonight's topic, feel free to press star. Let me introduce my co-host, Robert, Brother Robert 11X. Are you there, Brother Robert? Yes, you are, but let me make sure that you are there. Are you there?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, good. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. And yourself, CC?
Oh, I am doing great. So tonight, we're going to be talking about, okay, looks like we have a new number. If you're listening, our new number is going to be, next week. I'll try to do that next week. Okay, I think that's next week. Okay, so if you're joining us tonight, thank you again. We so appreciate it. Tonight, we are talking about a 10-year-old issue that has continued. That would be the housing bubble burst. The real estate market took a crash, as you all know, about 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, but about 10 years ago. And so we still have some people suffering from that issue, and we definitely want to talk about that tonight. In the first hour, we'll be talking to Arminda Colon. She is the creator of MyCoCreations. And MyCoCreations is a wonderful company. She interviewed with us, I think, about a year ago, talking about her business. But tonight she's going to talk to us about her business, just kind of refresh us. But then she's also going to talk to us about what has happened to her in this housing burst. I was introduced to her issue last week. I mean, I felt frantic like it was happening to me because I said, oh, my goodness, let me reach out to the people that I know because, I'm the infopreneur. So I should know somebody that can help her in this situation. I mean, her situation was so weird. I mean, it was just crazy. Like there was no contact for her, and it's been going on for over 10 years. It sounds kind of crazy that somebody could have a mortgage issue and go through it for 10 years and still be in their house. But she's going to definitely talk to us about that. Let me give you our new number. It's 704-802-5056. Okay, let me see. Let me read this. It works now. I'm sorry, Scotty. I cannot do two things at once.
I'm sorry. Let me help you out, CC. Greetings, Robert.
Thank you.
Greetings, Robert. Yes, the
Yes,
service.
sir.
Hey, Robert. Good to hear your voice, man. The service that we use for our telephone system is it's uberconference.com/Black Talk Radio Network. And it's a very affordable service, and they provided us with a 7-digit telephone number along with a toll-free number. But in order to keep their services low, the fees low, they have what's called a fair use policy. And Black Talk Radio uses 5 times the amount of resources that they normal customers do, but we're not losing a service, but we're losing the toll-free number. So the new number starting next week will be 704-802-5056. That's 704-802-5056. You still hit star to unmute yourself. And we just want to prepare people this week, get them an opportunity to write the number down. So if they go to, some of our listeners, they listen through the phone. They don't listen to the radio stream. They listen on the phone. So they won't call in next week and be like, hey, where's Black Talk Radio? So that's what's going on.
Okay, well, I have been giving out that 704-802-5056 as a secondary number, right?
Yes, ma'am, you have.
Okay, perfect. I just want to make sure that I'm down where I'm supposed to be. Okay, perfect. All right, everybody.
Now that I know that, thank you, Scotty, because I didn't know that. I was giving out the 1-866 number. I
just got informed today, Robert. I just got informed today.
Okay, well, we're all on the same page, everybody. Yeah. So, good. All right, so the new number, 704-802-5056, and you still press star to get in. So if any of our listeners would like to chime in, feel free to unmute yourself at any time. I know we have our guest there, but let me go ahead and read her information to you. Let's kind of get things in order here. Okay, so her name is Arminda Colon. She's a mother of one, a grown son now. She was born in New York, but she now lives in Florida. She loves life. She loves creatress. She's a creatress of her own things. I think that's a word she made up because I've never heard of that, but she creates things. Thus the name MyCoCreations. She enjoys gardening, reading, writing, and creating on many levels. Once you get to know her, you'll realize that she loves research. She loves learning. She loves to share and help others to find the power that they hold within themselves. It says, what I share with the world is an extension of self. It is a way to bring the community together through health, truth, empowerment, always sharing ways to improve and live a better life. In 2016, at the age of 26, she purchased her first home. After 2 years, her house was sold, but she was never made aware of that. A foreclosure was attempted in 2009, but she fought it and the case was dismissed. In 2017, they attempted to foreclose again. She's learned of several illegal attempts at theft of homes and property, and she wants to share what she's learned regarding this process. And I'm going to share her bio information later, but her business bio information. Let's let her on so she could begin telling us, because the second hour, I dug up a Frontline, the show Frontline on PBS. They talked about the whole housing burst, and I thought we would get into that and kind of look at that perspective. But let's see, what is it called? It's called PBS Frontline Inside the Meltdown. That's what it's called. So the second hour, we will visit that. And we will also, of course, encourage others to chime in, because there are a lot of people still suffering through that whole 2008 catastrophe today, especially our people, because, that the subprime mortgage crisis. I mean, as I think about this thing, I don't even know how some of us could get into such a situation, because I know somebody personally that got a mortgage. I don't know how they got the mortgage. I guess they were just handing them out like candy. But this person got a mortgage. Her husband barely works part-time. She didn't work at all, except for when it was time to claim like taxes at the very end, because she wanted to get the earned income credit. They had 5 children, so she would really capitalize on that. But they basically did not have a steady income coming in. So I didn't know how they got their house, but they did. They got a house. And of course, they lost their house in that time because they totally could not pay the inflated cost of this subprime loan. But I know a lot of people have fallen into that situation. So we're definitely going to get into it. Robert, what do you think about this subprime situation?
Well, the one thing that I took the liberty of doing prior to us coming on the show was getting the understanding of the language, and that was something that a lot of us, majority of us, when I say a lot, I'm talking about maybe all of us except for just a few dark-skinned people that may have been intimately tied into the industry, understood what a subprime loan really is. Just using that language and not understanding the definition clearly allows one to totally miss the opportunity as well as the misfortune that a lot of people at that time and is still suffering from went through. So we have to understand what a subprime loan is, and that's really it is. Let me just give you the definition, and we can move on real quick.
Well, it's good that you're doing that, because I thought the same thing. I think a big hurdle was, that people actually they didn't even know, like you said, they don't know the terms. And I have my Black's Law Dictionary, so go ahead. Let me see if it says the same thing.
Yeah, actually, the subprime loans basically are loans to people who may have difficulty maintaining the repayment schedule, sometimes reflecting setbacks such as unemployment, divorce, medical emergencies, etc. Historically, subprime borrowers were defined as having FICO scores below 600, although this has varied over time and circumstances. These loans are characterized by higher interest rates, poor quality collateral, and less favorable terms in order to compensate for higher credit risk. Many subprime loans are packaged into mortgage-backed securities, they call that MBS, and ultimately defaulted, contributing to the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008. So that right there, hold on, and yeah, so that right there clearly tells you a lot in that little brief definition, and that's not probably the best definition, but in that brief definition right there clearly tells you that this was not just an accident at all. This was a well planned out act in the real estate industry. It was well thought out, well planned out by a few individuals. This subprime was actually targeting being predatory to people who you didn't even have to qualify. I got a loan. I got a subprime loan. I got one, and at the time, again, after the fact, I heard the language subprime, but during the time, I didn't know what subprime. Like a lot of people, we didn't give a damn what subprime meant. All we knew was we were able to refinance our home, pull out thousands of dollars. They came along, the agents would come along, or brokers would come along and tell you, hey, I can get your house appraised. Let's get it appraised, and we probably come back with a great appraisal number, and you could probably walk away with $50,000, $70,000, $80,000. How much do you need? This was the kind of stuff that was going on, broker to homeowner. And I had a commercial piece of property, and the broker told me on the phone, I don't even need to come out to your property to see it. Now, I'm a business person, and I'm not at that time I wasn't into real estate the way that I really wished I would have been. But when he told me that, I was baffled. He gonna not come up to the house. Don't even have to. He said, I don't even have to physically look at the property. I'm gonna tell you that I can get the loan done. And I didn't believe him. I thought this was an arrogant ass guy. And I listened to him. I almost didn't do it, but then I said, "Well, I got to lose shit." I went on ahead and told him to do it. He did exactly what he said he was going to do. They walked that thing on through, and the next thing I know, I had a loan for quite a few thousands of dollars. I mean, the most I ever had in one time cash in my bank account. I couldn't believe it. It blew me away. So, had I known the language, there would be a totally different outcome right now. There would have been a totally different outcome had I learned that language and known that language. Like some people that were in the industry, they know the language. So going forward, just in getting the definition today of what subprime means, I was in my mind saying, okay, this is where the absence of knowledge, the absence of correct information hurts you. When you don't have the correct information, when you don't have the correct understanding or knowledge of a thing, then you think, again, we go back to this conversation me and you had, what appears to be a blessing is really not a blessing. It could be in the form, it may look like a blessing. You may be getting this house that been wanting, that you couldn't get for all these years of your life, or you didn't qualify, or you didn't have that good job. But somebody that knew how to play, knew exactly what they were doing, came along and said, I can make this happen. You didn't know the numbers. You didn't know the interest rate, what that really meant, the balloons, what that really meant. All you saw was, I'm going to be in a house. And that's all you wanted. Now, and then most of us always go and scream, God is good to me. But God didn't have nothing to do with that. That broker or that agent or that person that was in the know knew exactly what to do, knew exactly what the outcome was going to be. And people like that are guessing at it, people that don't know, thought it was a blessing. So we have to learn the language. We have to know the correct information going forward. There's something coming down the pipeline right now in America. So whenever you hear business language that you really honestly, you have to ask yourself, you have to be real with yourself. Do you or don't you know the language that you are hearing when you hear business conversation? If you don't know the language, Google it, because it could be to your benefit to know it, or it can be to your detriment not to know it.
Well, I know that for me, I've always been interested in real estate, not to the degree of really wanting to be an agent. I mean, I did play along with that idea for a little while. But I remember even as a young business owner, of course, I was interested in owning the home that I was living in. The first house that really interested me, the person who owned the house was a mortgage broker in Washington. And, I'm thankful for the type of person he was, because I didn't trust him and I knew to question everything. He wanted to sell me the house, and he immediately, was going to put the mortgage on an ARM. I mean, and I knew what that meant because I had researched what that meant. And I just was like, okay, well, that means that the mortgage could change. It could go up. And so that scared me, literally. It scared me, because what would it go up to? What would that mean for my bills? I was just very cautious. That was one instance. And, I think I was just really scared to be a homeowner because I didn't want to fail. I really didn't want to fail. And just the type of person he was, I knew that I could not trust him to actually make sure that the deal was executed in a way that was favorable to me. So I just walked away from that. But a few years later, kind of like what you said, either the man was like, I don't have to come out to the house or anything. I had a lady on the phone with me telling me that she could get me a mortgage for this house that I was interested in that was $400,000. I mean, that may sound like a whole lot because it is, but in Washington, it's really not. I mean, $400,000, that's kind of an average house. But this house, I was really in love with it. I could see it working for my business, but it was still the same situation. This woman, when she told me that she could get me this loan, yes, I did have the money, but again, I was thinking, what if I'm not able to pay this one day, you know? But she whispered it to me on the phone. She said, I can get you this loan. And I was like, oh, you know, that is a definite red flag for me. So it was something inside of me that walked away from both of those situations that actually saved me from getting the subprime loan, you know. And there are some that have been able to ride out the storm in the subprime loan situation. I would love to have them come on if they're able to do that. If you all know anybody that's listening that did ride it out, of course, reach out to us so that we can, you know, let you on. But let's, instead of us kind of doing what we do normally, we definitely do have a guest, and she is here waiting ever so patiently. So let's introduce her. Again, her name is Sister Arminda Colon of MyCoCreations. Welcome. Do we have Arminda on?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you for having me on.
How are you? No, long time no hear. Well, actually, no, we talked to you last week.
Yeah, I'm a little better this week.
Okay. Well, I'm so happy to hear that. So we did a brief introduction, but I want you to go ahead and let the public know who you are briefly, what it is that you do again, and let them know how to get to your website so they can look at your wonderful products and reach out to you.
Sure, thank you. Well, I do a lot of things, but my baby is MyCoCreations, and that company was created to basically offer to people organic and natural body products that are hard to find in the store because a lot of natural body products are infiltrated with unnatural ingredients. And so I started creating products for myself that contained only the purest of pure ingredients, and I started sharing them with the world through MyCoCreations. That website is www.mycocreations.com, and I also have listed on there like different types of products, from all things from deodorant to soap, body butter, but I also make clothing and anything, pretty much anything that I need, I make it. I'm also a programmer, and so I build websites, and I also do technical work for people, have various clients around different parts of the world, and basically anything technical, I'm able to assist them with that. And you can find out more about that if you go to Technificent, like the word magnificent, but technificentconsulting.com. If you just Google my name, Arminda, Arminda, Colon, Colon, you'll find all of my websites. I have a lot of stuff out there, share a lot of information, and I have a blog post up where I'm sharing lots of information about this very topic we're speaking on tonight. And the blog can be visited at blog.mycocreations.com.
Wonderful. Well, you know what? I got to tell you, I was trying to dig through your Facebook profile to find a picture that I wanted to use for you. But I would like to have those shoes that you're wearing, those little slippers. I said, oh, my goodness, I like those slippers she has on. I need to go on there and see if they're available. Are those available for sale?
Yes, those are on. Are you talking about the Converse style slippers? Or are you talking about the crochet?
The crochet.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Yes, those are on They're on a different website, but you can get to it. There's a link on my MyCoCreations website where you can access that. But I'll send a link directly to you.
Perfect. Okay. So let's get into this housing crisis. Let us know what started you on this long journey, and what exactly is the journey you've gone on? How has it affected you spiritually, mentally, financially, physically? Just let us know, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are still going through this today. And I believe that the situation is provided to you so that you can help somebody else. Of course, you're learning to help yourself. But as you saw, you searched and searched, and you weren't able to get a whole lot of help at times. But now you've kind of become an expert more than somebody else that is going through that. So, let's talk about this so you can possibly help somebody else that might hear this in the podcast. So go ahead and let us know how this started.
Yes. Okay. So basically in 2006 is when I purchased a home, and I fell into that category of being subprime. I just wanted the house. I wanted my son to live in a house, and I wanted to be in a good neighborhood. And I was financially able to take care of the payment. However, what happened was, after living here for about 2 years, I was laid off. I contacted the lender and I let them know that I was laid off, and but I would be making my payment as soon as possible. I just wanted to notify them because that's what I was told is the proper thing to do. When I made that call, they guaranteed me that there was nothing, that I made the call in the right amount of time, and that as long as I kept in contact with them, they would work with me. So I got a job within a month's time. The issue was that I got paid once a month with that job. So I wasn't able to make my first payment for 2 months after, so I had missed 2 payments. By the time I called them to let them know that I was ready to make that payment, and I had talked to them twice in that time frame, but I had called them to make the payment, and I was notified that my mortgage was sold. And I said, okay, so how do I obtain, what do I do about this? And they said, I will receive some information. Well, I never received anything from either the new lender or the old lender. So for 3 years, I contacted them and I tried to find out what I can do. How can I make this right? I was doing so much research at the time, and there was something going around called Produce the Note. So because at the time I did not know who actually held my mortgage, because I never got any paperwork stating that it was actually transferred and who received it and who I was supposed to make payments to, which I found out after the fact. Through this process, I found out that in my contract that I signed at the closing table, it clearly states that the original lender and the new lender are both supposed to send you paperwork notifying you of the transfer. But of course, at the time, I had no idea. So I just tried to contact, I got nowhere. In 2009, I received a summons that my home was going to be foreclosed on. So that's when I started doing all the research that I could. I reached out to people around me, and not many people, I don't really know many people who have purchased a house, so I kind of was in it by myself. When I found out, like I said, about the Produce the Note, which basically is a way for the homeowner to request that the person the bank that's claiming to own your mortgage, that they have a physical copy of it, because if they don't have a physical copy, then they don't actually own it. And so I filed paperwork through the clerk of the court. I did this all by myself, based on the research that I had come across. I filed. And when I filed that I just wanted them to provide proof to me, whoever was the lender, so I could start making my payments to them. Because in my research, I found that so many people were making payments to who they thought was the lender because, again, they never received any information stating that their mortgage was sold. So they kept paying the original lender, and their home was foreclosed on years later because they didn't pay the new lender. So I didn't want to fall into that category. So I wanted them to prove to me who I was supposed to make my payments to. Through that process, basically the judge ended up dismissing the case because Deutsche Bank, who is the bank that filed a lawsuit against me to foreclose on my home and was claiming that they owned it, couldn't provide any documentation. They didn't have the note. They didn't have the mortgage transfer documents. They didn't have anything. And like you were saying in the beginning, that's during that mortgage crisis time when they were doing all of that sliding stuff under the rug. They were doing it in a very illegal and shady way where they weren't actually transferring any documents. They were just sending electronic notices back and forth to each other so that they can transfer the money and get paid on it. So the brokers could get paid and the homeowner could move in. But the physical documents weren't ever transferred, and so that process wasn't legally completed. Coming forward to, so basically, let me just step back for a second. So basically through 2009 up until 2017, I had no correspondence. I stopped trying to find out because everyone that I tried to talk to get information from, really I didn't really even know who to talk to except for the original lender. And they wouldn't provide me with any information. They didn't have anything on file.
Well, let me ask you this. I mean, because, a lot of us have had some strange situations in housing. So this whole time, like, have you really been able to even sleep? Because at any time somebody could knock on your door, put a notice there, and since you really didn't have any, yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. I mean, because you just really don't have a go-to for any sort of knowledge or understanding. If anything happened, you'd be like, okay, well, what do I do? Do I comply or do I fight or, what do I do? So I could only imagine the stress that you must have been going through this whole time.
Yeah, it's been very difficult because, like you said, and at the time when this whole thing started, my son was still of age and he was still living at home. He moved out last year, but like I said, up until that, the whole time he was living at home. So I'm thinking, what if they come when, it's just him here? Or just like you said, I had no idea. I didn't know anything because I couldn't get any answers. Only thing that I knew is that the judge dismissed my case because the bank claiming to own my home didn't actually have any proof of that. So I'm saying to myself, okay, well, what's the next step? But I didn't receive any information from the court, from the judge, other than this case is dismissed. And so, like I said, I kind of was like, I don't know what else to do, and I just kept on my path of working and doing what I do. And in March of this year, I received another summons. And it was from the same bank with the same claim, except this time they had more information that was illegal. It was not true, not illegal. They had more information, but they were claiming that I had made a payment. There's another part of this story that's weird also, but I had 2 mortgages on this home, and the second mortgage was just disappeared, so to speak. I got a letter from Chase right before the first time that Deutsche Bank tried to foreclose on me. I got a letter from Chase saying that my second mortgage had been forgiven and I didn't have to pay it. It was about $40,000. So I was like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. They don't have any information on my other loan. They can't tell me who it was sold to, but they're forgiving my other loan. But of course, I'm grateful for that, so I'm not going to push that, So again, just researching this whole 10 years, I've just been constantly researching to try to keep up with the laws and understand all the documents, all of the information that was in my, that I signed at the closing table, because of course I didn't read every single paper. And so I didn't know everything, and I'm trying to find out everything that I can possibly find out to try to track down my information. And like I said, so fast forward to 2017, in March, I got a summons. They're providing, like I said, information stating that I made a payment in 2016, and that's why they're able to foreclose on me, because I made a payment and then I didn't make my payments again, which was a total lie. I had no communication. I haven't paid anyone for all of these years because I didn't know who to pay.
Right.
So,
but let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. I mean, there's so many questions because I mean, I'm stuck in the anxiety place like right now, like every day. It's like, oh my God. But okay,
it was the worst 10 years. It was very, very so difficult. It's just like if you're driving in a car and you know that it's going to give out at any point, but you just don't know what corner it's going to stop on.
Right. So did they ever say to you, okay, well, so since you haven't paid anybody and you had the money, do you have the money now? Like, where's all the money that you should have been paying all these months? Did they ever say that to you?
No, because I never spoke to anyone until... I still haven't spoken to anyone, but I just found out a week ago on Saturday who the lender was that it was sold to. Like, I just got the information, and that was only because I put a post out on Facebook. You responded and gave me a few contacts. A few other people gave me contacts. And through me going through all of those avenues, I was able to speak to a number of different people, and I was able to put all this different stuff together and find out, like I said, who the lender was or is, and basically they hired a third party to service the loan. So that's another thing that didn't make any sense. There's a third party involved in it that, whatever. So it's just so much information.
Was that third party? Was that third party a debt collector or what?
Yes, it was the one who was collecting for the loan, and it's a debt collector.
Debt collector, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What
is a certain?
Did they have the paperwork to produce the proof that they had the mortgage?
Well, they filed a document with the court this time around, and they filed a copy of the note, which is not the original note, so they haven't provided proof that they actually have the note. But they also filed 2 mortgage transfer documents, and one of them is forged. One of them is clearly whited out and handwritten over where it was typed on. So
my God.
You can see that the original mortgage transfer to Chase is valid, and that's the one where I signed to have my mortgage with Chase. That one is valid, but the one where it was supposedly transferred to Deutsche Bank, that's the one that is clearly illegal. But I don't have enough information. Yeah, I didn't have enough information and enough time to be able to go after them in that legal, with that legal avenue. So basically it came down to the wire. It came down to 2 days before my home was supposed to be sold at an auction, which was on the 18th of January of this year. It was supposed to be sold. And 2 days prior to that, I spoke with a realtor that happens to be my friend. And I was given advice by the title clearing company that I should try to sell my home. And if I sold it, then they couldn't foreclose on it. So I contacted my friend, the realtor. She tried to go through the process, and she's like, well, somebody was assisting her that I guess has a little bit more knowledge. And she said, well, why doesn't she file bankruptcy? Which I had been trying to, gather some information on what does filing bankruptcy mean and what does it do and how does it work, because I really had no idea exactly what it meant to my home. In theory, I knew what it meant, but I didn't know what the bottom line would be. Will I save my home? So long story short, the realtor said you should probably file bankruptcy because we need to have an agreement with the lender in order for us to do a short sale. They would need to have an agreement, and I couldn't get in contact with the lender. Once I found out who it was, again, it was on a Saturday. Martin Luther King was on holiday was on that Monday, and the sale was scheduled to take place on Thursday. I sent them emails, I called several times, and I didn't get any response. And the same with the realtor. She tried contacting on my behalf, and they weren't getting any response either. So like I said, down to the wire, the only thing I can do was whatever I can do, and that was file bankruptcy. So I ended up filing chapter. I'm sorry?
They still haven't produced the paperwork proving, they haven't produced the original documents yet, though, right?
They have not. And that I haven't even I haven't started that fight yet because I just got to the point where the bankruptcy, like they did an emergency bankruptcy, so it was done in like 24 hours so that it could stop the home. It puts an automatic stay and an automatic stop on the sale of the home. So it didn't even complete my bankruptcy yet. I still have another 30 days before I'm able to finish that process. So I'm still trying to learn everything that I need to do to try to either continue the fight, or I'm not sure at this point. I've just been through so much for so long that it's just, it's very overwhelming. And I'm really good with knowledge and information because I'm a programmer. But all of the knowledge of my programming and all that kind of stuff on top of this has just been so much. Like you were saying, Cece, it just got to the point where I felt like I was just drowning and I couldn't breathe. And so my head is starting to clear a little bit, but I really haven't even gotten to what am I going to do next. I just got to, okay, I'm here. I've had half of my house is packed, because I had no idea what was going to happen, and I didn't want sheriffs to come into my house and just start throwing my stuff out. So, I was in the stages of preparing. I didn't know where to go because I didn't have enough money saved, but I had a few friends offering, that they would allow us to stay with them for a little while. But, yeah, so I honestly don't know what the next step is. I want to continue to fight it because it's illegal. Until you prove that you own my home, you don't own it. And you're trying to take something from me that you don't have the rights to. I don't mind to pay for who I'm supposed to pay, but I don't want to pay somebody who is illegally trying to profit off of something that was an illegal process. That whole subprime, like you said, they knew exactly what they were doing. So I'm trying to learn everything that I can to try to fight it the best that I can.
That whole subprime thing wasn't just targeting the poor. That was targeting anybody that was okay with making this thing happen. I mean, everybody from the poor to people who had an investment mindset. Everybody, whether knowingly or not knowingly, everybody was a part of that subprime whoever got into the industry. But the thing of it is so you haven't had an opportunity to actually get with a real estate attorney in a timely fashion to deal with this, right?
Correct. I have not. I've contacted several attorneys and nobody's responding to me. So I think, yeah.
Wait, did you call the guy that I referred you to, David Razumna?
No, I did not, because at the time I was working with the title clearing and she was having me go a different route. Which is what
he's in Seattle. He's in Seattle, so I would suggest that you go to his website. I would email him and send him a voicemail. He will call you back. He definitely will call you back. And if he doesn't know anything, usually he will give you some sort of resources and tell you whatever. But I would say reach out to him because I have firsthand personal information from him and personal experience. And I know that he's not one of those drop the ball kind of people at all.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I have the email and I looked at it. I just, like I said, I kind of took the different routes trying to get it done as fast as possible. And
yes.
Yeah, so I still have that, and thank you. I will definitely get in contact with him.
I would like to say to anybody that's listening to the show right now, because I have invited several people that are dealing in real estate on a whole nother level to come on to the show, to at least listen to the show. So if you all out there listening and you hear what this young lady is saying and you have information that could possibly help, please hit the star and chime right into this conversation, because this is definitely a great conversation piece when it comes to this subprime lending, the 10 years later. And I know personally a whole lot of people who were in your position. I myself, sister, I was in your position as well. But somebody told me early on. You mentioned about this, the produce the note filing
right
to the lender, which someone early on told me this about my loan because I had a unique circumstance as well. Aquin is a debt collector who was calling me about the loan, and I couldn't understand why would a debt collector be calling me about a mortgage that I owe to a mortgage company. Nevertheless, when they stopped paying the taxes on my building, I started getting letters like the second, third year from the city of St. Louis saying that you owe taxes. And I was like, wait a minute. The mortgage company usually paid the taxes. So someone told me early on that if they cannot produce the original paperwork, then there's nothing that they can do with you in reference to taking back the property.
Right.
See,
that's supposed to be the case, though, right?
Yes.
But if they're filing illegal documents to prove that they own something they don't really own, that's the part that I don't know. Like, I'm confused at how do we get past that part.
What state are you in?
Florida.
Yeah. See,
I can't hear you. Your phone is kind of cutting out. Is that just me, or can you all hear him?
No, he's coming and going as well to me.
Oh, okay, hopefully this is better. Is this better?
Yes, I hear you better.
Okay, great. So, and see, this thing is very common. What you're going through. Again, I asked the callers if you're there. Speak your mind. Talk to this young lady because, as I said about what I was going through, and the guy told me about that being the case. But the information part, what you're going through right now in terms of finding the information, obtaining the information, that was a struggle for me as well. Even in the whole, I finally lost my property to the back taxes here in St. Louis. So in pursuing that information in reference to who bought the property, it was crazy trying to find out the information. So I figured that they just deliberately made this
it just disappeared.
To get hello? Yeah. They made this information kind of hard to get. And what happened for me was I got with a private investigator, and the attorney hired a private investigator to find me, and then I worked with the attorney. I told the attorney they charged me like 20-some% of the money that I made in the back tax sale, but I told them that I needed to. Part of that agreement with working with you guys is you need to show me how this goes, because I saw and from the mortgage part to the tax, how we really don't have a clue and how hard they make it for us to really find out the information that we need. And that's why for you, fight it, appeal it, fight it, get an attorney if I think that's going to be your best route. If nobody that knows the information, your best thing is to appeal, find out what type of appeal process is available for your particular case, and then appeal it. I wouldn't say file bankruptcy, but I would definitely fight that in court, and they would have to prove to me that they have the original documents.
Call back.
Huh?
I think he can't hear me.
No, I heard you. Yeah, but that's what I would do, sister. Definitely get an attorney, appeal it in court. But I don't know if you already. I think you said you already started that bankruptcy process.
Yeah,
that's
I
something
already started that. I had
Yeah.
to, because that was the only way that I could stay in my home. Like, I didn't have any money saved up because they kind of fast-tracked this foreclosure. They were trying to push it through because there's a statute of limits of 5 years, and they were trying to base that off of an invalid, untrue payment that I made. So I had to do what I had to do, and that's all that I could figure out. And because, like I said, it was the very last minute when I finally got the few bits of pieces of information that if I would have had them in a week prior, I would have been able to do more. But because I was unable to find that information in a timely manner, I had to go the route of bankruptcy. And thankfully and luckily, I don't have, and my home was not only debt. I don't have credit cards. I don't live above my means. I don't finance my car. Everything that I do, I try to, pay for it. So because I didn't have any debt other than the home, I was able to get it done, like I said, in less than 24 hours and 2 days before the sale of the home. Within 24 hours, they were able to get it knocked off of the web, taken down off of the website. And I had people coming to my house. They were driving by. They were, nobody knocked on the door, but I was going to work one morning, getting in my car, opened the garage door, and there's a truck and a guy, he's just staring at the house, and he's looking. And then, I said something to him. I said, "Are you here because of a foreclosure?" And he was like, "Yeah, how many bedrooms? How many rooms?" And I said, "Well, I'm stopping the sale." I didn't know how, but I knew I was going to stop the sale. That's all that I kept telling myself is, this is my house, and they're trying to take it from me illegally. This can't be allowed to happen. It can't be. I know it's happened to so many people, but I'm not going to just let it happen. So, like I said, the frustration of having to deal with it for 10 years and then actually having people, right in my face when I open my door to go to work in the morning, looking at my property and questioning my stuff, was just I just want this to be over, and I just want to know that I'm going to be able to lay my head down where I'm going to be laying my head down next week. So, normally under normal circumstances, I would have kept fighting it, and like I said, I'm going to try to see what I can still do, because even though I filed bankruptcy, if it's not legally their debt, then I shouldn't have to pay them. So like I said, I have 30 days before I'm supposed to meet with the people who are the creditors, they call them, but basically it's a third-party trust, and I'm supposed to make the payments to them, and then they pay on my behalf to the debtor. So I have 30 days to try to get more information, and possibly I can cancel the bankruptcy, or, that's what I'm looking for. That's why I shared my story on Facebook. That's why I ask questions, because I have a lot of followers, and, there's a lot of people who possibly may have one piece of the puzzle, and that's how I've been able to put all of this together, is by, thankfully, people, like I said, like Cece, reaching out to me, hearing my call, and giving me a little bit of information. And just unfortunate, I got exactly what I needed at the last minute when it was too late for me to push a little harder with that avenue. But I'm still going to do what I can.
Yes.
There is the sister Janelle. Janelle, are you on the line? Can you hear us? Or can we hear you? Can you say something so we can know if you're on the line? You push star.
I'm here. Hello.
She's unmuted. 9416.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, I just heard. Yeah. Hey, how are you, Janelle?
Fine. Hi. How are you?
Good. So you've been chiming in and listening to the sisters' situation. Tell us a little bit about who you are and how can you, what would you suggest to the sister to do?
Well, my background is in real estate. I started out in real estate. I think it was around 89, 90. I started out as a real estate agent, and then I started working with, of course, different people. Clients had unique situations with the credit or just what have you, but wanted to buy homes. So I started being some sort of a missionary to make sure people got into homes. And that taught me a lot, and it increased my circle. And I would go to them for different information. They all had different areas of expertise. And so then I find myself getting into origination as far as loans were concerned. I did residential. Then I started having to do a little bit to help them with the credit because the credit wasn't quite right. The bank said no. The weather doesn't necessarily mean a no. That means you can't go the bank way. And then sometimes the subprime would come in only because they can't go the bank way. It didn't mean that the credit was bad. It means that they can't go that way for some reason or another. It could be something very simple. Subprime can be bad. During that time, it was just a game. They wanted more money in the market, and that's just what they did. It's just how it goes. But it doesn't mean that we couldn't have went back later on to get those things refinanced. I mean, I think that's some of the information that they failed to give. If I take this high rate now because I want to get in, for whatever reason, the bank is telling me no. The bank is stricter. They say no to a lot of things that they shouldn't say no to. They say no if, they don't like the color of your skin. They say no because, I don't know, you dated their uncle. They say no for whatever reason they want to say no for. So then you have to go subprime. But it doesn't mean that you can't go, the regular conventional way. But either way can be good or bad. So anyway, so then I started working with different investors, and they had money, but the monies weren't on the books. And so we had to figure out a way, they wanted to invest. So I just started, I'm very mathematical and analytical, and I don't really believe in a no. I believe in a how to. Maybe I'll take a later, but not a no. And so, I just learned a whole lot of different things dealing with real estate, and just listening to you guys, I see that it's you're just in a common situation with a whole lot of other people, and it's a game. Real estate has its own chessboard of its own, and if you don't know the positions, if you don't know the plays, if you don't know who's to talk to, sometimes who you're talking to, the attorney also plays golf with the judge, and also plays golf with the lender, So, they won't take your cases sometimes, because of that. They don't want to get into it. They don't want to get involved. And it's a game. So, you have to find someone sometimes that's outside of your area in order to take on something that's inside of your area. That's just how it is. Listening to what you're saying, I don't know completely. I would have to ask you a few more things, and I would have to see some of your paperwork. If you wouldn't mind sharing it with me, we can sign some sort of non-disclosure if you want to. But how I can best suggest something for you, I really need to see. I know what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, and I will give that to you. But don't hold me to this because I have not seen your paperwork, okay?
Understand, definitely, yes.
Okay. And I don't know everything and all that, but, I'm willing to kind of see, because this it's not funny, but it's just classic. And I would just say, oh, my God, no, they're not doing it again. Oh, my God. So this could be a blessing for you, really. But from your side of things, you can't see it that way. What I'm just thinking now, I don't know. I'm thinking that you already own that property. Ooh, hallelujah. Mm-hmm. Girl. Ooh. You just got to just hold on for a minute. I'm thinking you already own it. So, of course, they're going to play those games with you. Mm-hmm. Of course, somebody else is going to come out of nowhere and try to state some type of claim because they already know that you probably already own it without even having to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to tell you that.
Right. I'm with you, and that's why I've been fighting it.
So, and you don't have to fight it. Well, I guess you do, and you do when you do. Well, you know what? You did what you had to do. Mm-hmm. So, I would love to see if this is what's going on, and it won't even take that long. I would be more than happy to see if that's what's going on.
I will definitely provide you with whatever you need if you're willing to. Yes.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm supposed to. I mean, I have to. I'm here today. I didn't plan to be on this radio show. It's not part of my doing. I usually don't come on radio shows. I'm supposed to be doing one myself that I haven't done, and I just don't. There's nothing wrong with them, but I flowed with the energy. I flowed with the spirit of things, and so it's your day. Is all I can say. It's awesome. That you get right here at the at the 11th, I call it the 11th hour, the 59th minute, the 59th second, and whatever else is behind it. And then, because of what you've done and the seeds that you planted, the universe said, hey, you know what? I'm going to come and I'm going to rescue her and I'm going to give her this right here. What they're trying to take from her, I'm going to give it to her. So I think it's amazing. I think it's a miracle. I mean, I would just about, I'm not going to put my life on anything, but I would just almost just guarantee you, that it's probably yours already.
Mm-hmm. I believe that. I just don't know how to prove it, and that's what I've been trying to uncover. So,
as long as because some things I can't do, I don't have time for. Mm-hmm. But if you said that you're on the computer a lot, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm a programmer.
So as long as I can direct you and say, okay, I need you to do this, I need you to do that, because I'm going to need you to make a couple of phone calls and give me the information just so I can gather all of what I need together. So as long as you can assist me in helping you.
I'm so sorry. I need to take us to break. I was so caught up in the conversation and listening, I was muted, but we need to definitely take a break. You're listening to Black Talk Radio Network. We're Blacks in Business Radio. We'll be back in just a second.
The Black Talk Media Project would like to invite you to become a member of the BTR Community subscription-based social media platform. BTR Community is a platform that was set up for the listening audience of Black Talk Radio Network, the #1 independent Black radio network online. For just $24 per year, your subscription gives you access to an interactive space to share information with like-minded people with your privacy guaranteed. Your subscription will go a long way to help us maintain and improve our current media platforms. It will also help provide a budget so that we can begin the task of establishing localized media centers and radio stations across the United States. The best way to show your support and appreciation for what we do here at Black Talk Radio is to subscribe. Help us to help you be informed. Join btrcommunity.com today.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us in the last hour. This is Blacks in Business Radio. Yes, Scotty, I know. I was tripping. Blacks in Business Radio. We're on Black Talk Radio Network every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please join us each and every week where we will talk about things like this. We are joined today. I'm Cece Harry, and my co-host is Brother Robert 11X. We're joined by Arminda Colon, who is talking to us about her situation in the housing crisis. And she's working it out with, I am so sorry, sister, I did not catch your name or what it is that you do. Something is going on with the internet. But if you could just reintroduce yourself really quick so that our listeners will know that are listening live and then later by podcast, that would be great.
Yes, my name is Gaynell Bowling, and my background is real estate agent. I started out in like 89, 90, I think, as an agent, and then I began, I've worked as a loan originator. I've invested in myself. I've bought, I've rehabbed. I've helped people build their credit, establish their credit, whether it's residential or business. I've helped people with residential or commercial lending, whether it's business loans or real estate commercial loans, when they've been turned down, when banks says no, when they don't think they can, when they've had foreclosures, when they've had just, I've just been, and sometimes I just work in a capacity as a consultant because it's a lot to try to do everything. Because of the fact that I'm very mathematical and analytical and strategical in my thinking, I'm always able to think about things that sometimes people are, they can't think about it from the angle just because of my mathematical, mindset. So that has just helped me out a lot, and it's given me the opportunity to help so many other people throughout the years. And I don't even really know how I got on the show, except for it had to be the spirit, because I usually don't come on the shows. And but I'm glad that I'm here, and I'm glad that I was able to hear the sister's situation. And I just, like I said earlier, I had to just laugh because it's just amazing to me what, the system, different people, I won't blame the system, but I'm not blaming anybody, but we just don't know. We just don't have a lot of knowledge. And, even when we get in situations, we don't know what to do. So the situation ends up taking control of us instead of us being able to go another angle or go through a loophole, or go to our friends, or go to our neighbor, or go from our personal to our business, or have actually have a corporation, or have 2-3 different corporations, or have a trust, or have something that we can offset everything, because these aren't the things that we've been taught. We didn't, so we don't know what to do, and we always just get stuck. So, we get things taken away from us. We lose different things only because we don't know what to do.
Right. That's true. And let me say this. When I was listening to Arminda's testimony earlier, I wrote down 2 things that she said that were very key to this conversation, especially when relating to our people. Arminda, you said just what this sister just said. I don't know many people that own a home. So you didn't know, really who to talk to about even square one. So that's exactly what she was talking about. And then you said, I didn't read every single paper. And that's key also, because in these deals, we get so excited about, the flowers of the whole thing, but we don't get down to the nitty gritty and read the ugly. We don't do that, and that people like to say Black people don't read, but I beg to differ. No, we do read. Maybe we don't read the important stuff sometimes, but we definitely do read. So I don't even receive that. But it's been shown that we've been bamboozled into these situations because we have not read the fine print. And the fine print was actually created so that nobody reads it. So I would say, if you don't want to read, you better have some money set aside for somebody who is paid to read, so that you will have the correct and appropriate information for these situations. Okay. We had an attorney on here a few months back. Her name is Connie Murray. If you need her information, please reach out to us at weareblacksinbusiness@gmail.com. She's helped me out in a couple situations since the show, and I'm so appreciative, I should say, of her ability and knowledge as an attorney to read. But that is something that, we suffer from. We don't read the fine print, and that's in any situation. That is why these large documents were created, so we don't read. But Arminda, I appreciate your honesty in this whole situation, because again, you're given and dealt the cards, not just to help yourself, but to help somebody else. So I'm believing that many people through this live and also the podcast will be helped through your situation. And I know we know that you're going to get through it. So what we want to do is actually make sure that you all exchange information, and we want to wind it up so that we can get into the information from Frontline, because it directly relates to what we're talking about today. And people, we will post the Frontline video, because you're not going to be able to hear it in its entirety. We will post the Frontline in Blacks in Business Radio. But ladies, go ahead, make sure that you have the appropriate information to connect later on after the show.
Okay, Janelle, I can give you my phone number and my email address, or you can provide me with yours, whichever.
I can give you mine, and then whenever, after leisure. And one thing with real estate is just a whole monster within itself, okay? And you could have read your documents all day long. So it wasn't because of anything that you didn't read maybe or couldn't comprehend. It's just not in that paperwork. It's not in that
there's
paperwork.
A lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
It's just not in that paperwork. Okay, that paperwork was just for you buying that home and what's contained in just that one transaction. But it doesn't contain the whole law, guidelines as far as real estate is concerned. You understand what I'm saying?
I definitely do.
And then some attorneys only specialize in certain areas. That's not a bad thing. It's like you have different specialties, and it's all that it is, Okay, so my name is Gaynell, Gaynelle. Last name is Bowling, Bolling. And you can reach me at 919 714 3998.
Okay.
And if you want to email me, you can email me at E as in Edward, E as in Edward, I as in Indian, N as in Nancy, V as in Victor, L as in Larry, L as in Larry, C as in Cat, at gmail.com. And you can ask me, anybody can ask me anything because, we just got a lot of issues and about a lot of different things. And, we're governed by, by our Social Security number. It's all it is to it. So no matter what we do, you can pay cash for things, but no matter what we do, that thing has to read certain things, and there's different codes to it, different laws. And I don't try to repair anybody's credit, but I can lead them to some things and, to help them out. That's all. Or buying houses, or because they tell us we can't. They tell you can only own one. You can own as many as you want. Right. You can do what you want, but they don't tell you that. And I'll just leave it at that. So thank you for me being able to talk to you because I wasn't going to, Mr.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
I want to thank you personally for coming on and speaking with the young lady.
Yes, sir.
And I, it's okay. I'm glad you accepted the invite, and hopefully this can help her out going forward. So thank you again for coming on and sharing with us your information, and hopefully you'll become a regular listener to the show.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And also, you said that you wanted a radio program. Black Talk Radio Network can definitely facilitate that for you. So if you would like that information, feel free to reach out to us.
No, ma'am. I would take the information, but I'm saying I would take the information and I will call you but I've been running away from it is what I'm saying. But I will take the information. I've been running away from it, actually. But give me the information.
Okay.
Yes.
So the website is blacktalkmediaproject.org. blacktalkmediaproject.org. Now, although you may be running from it, we just want to make sure when you run into it, you come right here to us because we are 100% Black owned. No funny stuff. You can come on and do what you need to do to educate our people.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So we hope that you all will continue listening because we are going to play this frontline video that will explain, and it's frontline. So, we think that we're going to get all the information, but I'm sure that we will not, but we'll get some. And as more information comes in, we will expound upon it. And if you are listening and you've had your own story about what has been going on in the real estate market as far as the bust, feel free to reach out to us. We are blacksinbusiness@gmail.com. All right. So let's see. Scotty is asking for the link. Let's see. I do have the link. Hold on. Let me send it to you now. I have to type it out. So, Robert, do you have anything that you want to add?
Yeah, man. I this is one of those subjects for me that very close to home. Real estate is, like the sister said, there's just so many different dynamics to this real estate. And I like how you use the analogy of it's like a chessboard, game. So, and it really is so many moves to make, and there's so many ways to win in real estate. And I always say the goal of it is to just, get the property ultimately. And, but you still, there are some mathematical ways that are better than others. But even in that, if you never owned and you come into ownership, that's a blessing. But I was talking to my buddy Rashid, and he shared something with me that was very profound and in terms of when you don't have the correct information. And he said, even in the appearance of winning, it's still you are losing because you don't have the correct information and you didn't do the math. So you may have the appearance of winning, but it is not winning, and that thing, that statement is so very true. And a lot of the situations as Black people, and over the years, I've listened to and actually watched people give God glory for crazy loans, and it's just, when you don't know, as the sister said, when you don't know, you just don't know. And another thing, you're right, they don't put it in that language that's pertaining to this subject now is not in the paperwork when you go to the title company and you close on a loan. This is a whole different subject. This is not about the bricks. This is about the paper now. Now we're dealing with the paper side of real estate, and that's where majority of the agents, brokers, quote unquote, get lost at. They don't even know how to deal with the broker side. The paper side of the real estate. So, real estate is a very fascinating and broad industry. It just really is. There's so many different ways to come at it, and I so appreciate it because it truly has made my life a whole lot better coming into the knowledge of it. And I love these type of dialogues, and I'm glad that we had this dialogue on BIB Radio. Hopefully people who are listening to it, because I know there's a lot of people going through a similar situation.
There are definitely a lot of people going through these situations, but we have got to get to this video because it's 8:18 and Scotty has it queued up. So let's go ahead, Scotty.
Frontline is made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you. With major funding from the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant, and peaceful world. With additional funding from the Park Foundation, committed to raising public awareness.
On September 18, 2008, the Secretary of the Treasury, Henry Paulson, and the Chairman of the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke, arrived for an emergency meeting at the Capitol.
On Thursday, late afternoon, we go to Nancy Pelosi's office, and there's a meeting of the senior legislators from both parties in both House and Senate.
In the past 7 months, they had bailed out one bank and let another one fail, nationalized 3 of the nation's largest companies, and watched in horror as the credit markets froze.
It was obviously a big meeting. I had no idea I was going to hear what I heard. We turned it right over to Ben Bernanke and Hank Paulson.
And they said they needed the authority to use $700 billion to unstop the credit markets.
And sitting in that room with Hank Paulson saying to us in a very measured tones, no hyperbole, no excessive adjectives, that unless you act, the financial system of this country and the world will melt down in a matter of days.
Bernanke said, if we don't do this tomorrow, we won't have an economy on Monday.
There was literally a pause in that room where the oxygen left.
Tonight, from the boardrooms on Wall Street to the back rooms in Washington, Frontline goes inside the meltdown. The story begins in the spring of 2008, after the housing bubble had burst.
Home prices were at a record high just 2 years.
Wall Street had gambled heavily on home mortgages, especially risky ones.
Fell 8.6% last month.
As the housing market crashed, fear crept in. What if there were a run on any of the Wall Street houses?
Home mortgages are triggering fears of a financial meltdown on Wall Street.
Then on Monday, March 10th, a rumor about Bear Stearns.
Pretty normal morning. And then suddenly, around 11 o'clock, there's a tremor. The stock starts to go down. The CFO of Bear starts calling down to his desks, to the repo guys, the bond guys. Anybody hear anything? Anybody know anything? What is this? Yeah, the rumor is that we're running out of cash and that we might be in trouble.
Bear's former chairman, Alan Ace Greenberg, had seen it happen before.
Rumors are such that they just can plain put you out of business. People that you have been doing business with for years, all of a sudden they just say, no, we don't want to touch it.
On the street, they say rumors, even unfounded rumors, are a contagion that can kill a company in just a few days.
Causing the stock the most activity. Bear Stearns suffering from, well, what you didn't do with any of these stocks these days, namely start a rumor.
CNBC is ubiquitous on trading desks. It's ubiquitous on Wall Street. People watch it absolutely all day long. They tune into it. When there are flash lines up on the screen, they want to tune in immediately. So they have a profound impact on what's happening.
Those are the kinds of concerns in this market.
It was nothing short of surreal. You're watching on CNBC, etc. I mean, they're talking about where you work.
The only bank in the red right now basically Bear Stearns, although it is dragging the rest of the financial markets down as well. Most of them.
Bear's stock was in free fall. Once it traded as high as 171. Now it hovered around 60.
When people get nervous, they want the money out because you don't want to be the last person when there's a run on the bank. The stock started to go down. More and more people called up and said, I want my money out, or I won't trade with Bear Stearns, and it just completely unwound.
And it happens because those who do business with a firm such as that lose confidence. And when they lose confidence, they pull their lines, and that's it. It's done. Pack your bags.
Inside Bear, they knew they needed to reassure the market. They turned to former chairman Ace Greenberg.
Somebody came over to me and said, you got to make a statement. We're in trouble. I called the chief financial officer. I said, are we in trouble? He said, no, everything's fine.
They had nearly $18 billion in cash reserves. Ace called CNBC.
So I said it's ridiculous. Everything's fine, which it was.
He says, this is ridiculous, which then kind of, as they say, put pants on the problem, because CNBC then starts running a crawler. You know, Ace Greenberg calls rumors of imminent demise ridiculous, which is a little bit, you know, like screaming, I'm really not beating my wife, honest.
It's a very sharp rally on Wall Street, with the exception of Bear Stearns. It has been a roller coaster.
The rumors swirling around Bear were about its massive investments in subprime mortgages, what would become known as toxic assets.
They were big in mortgages. They were big in packaging them and creating securities out of them, buying them.
The road to riches for Bear was simple. Buy hundreds of thousands of mortgages then bundle them into securities and sell them to investors.
30 years ago, if you got a mortgage, you went to a bank, and that bank frisked you pretty good before giving you the money because the bank expected you to pay the bank back. In 2005, a mortgage lender lends money to a lot of people and does not expect to be repaid by them, but bundles up the right to be repaid by them and sells it to a lot of other people.
The bigger the housing market grew, the more Bear and other investment banks bought.
Accelerating housing prices created a mentality among everybody involved in the mortgage industry, from the buyer of the house to the broker, the mortgage broker, to the bank, to Wall Street, that housing prices could only go up.
Everybody did this. You know, everybody made tons of money in 05, 06.
By 07, the party was over.
People started to see that foreclosures were rising. Certainly the home price appreciation that we had enjoyed for many years during the bubble was stopping.
They were stuck with these investments that were rapidly declining in value.
It was a formula for disaster. It was a traditional game of hot potato, hot potato. And as it turned out, everybody ended up with a potato.
As the smallest investment bank on Wall Street, Bear Stearns looked vulnerable. Wednesday, 2 days into the crisis, they needed to do something to restore confidence.
If you're a Wall Street firm beset by rumors, the best you can do is bring out the CEO to say, well, this is really nothing serious. And by Wednesday morning, that's where Bear had come to.
I called over to their head of PR, talked to him about it, saying, you know, your stock is just keeps getting hammered. I talked to a lot of people. I think they would want to hear from Alan.
Alan Schwartz, Bear's CEO, decided to give Faber the interview.
Joining me now first on CNBC is Alan Schwartz. He is Bear Stearns' president and CEO. Mr. Schwartz, thanks so much for being here this morning.
Everything went quiet on the trading floor as we listened to the interview. Everyone very focused on listening because we knew this would be the nexus point for how the rest of the week would play out.
So when I'm told by a hedge fund that I know well that last night they tried to close out a mortgage, a credit protection.
Faber's first question was a tough one.
With Goldman Sachs,
he raised the specter that one of Bear's most important trading partners, Goldman Sachs, might be deserting them.
You're saying you're not aware that that would be the case?
I'm not aware, and on a specific trade from one counterparty to another.
If you're just living out in Schenectady, that doesn't sound all that bad. In fact, that is a kiss of death. He has all but driven the spear through Schwartz's heart because he's saying that Bear Stearns is not trustworthy in the eyes of those it trades with.
For Bear, it turns out to be a big blow because it's a public acknowledgement of what sounds like a specific example, and Alan looks to some people like he's not on the ball.
And I think the situation with time will stabilize.
Well, Alan Schwartz, thank you so much for being here this morning. Appreciate it.
Bear had borrowed heavily to invest in toxic assets and other high-risk securities. To survive, it would have to find more lenders willing to loan it money.
Bear Stearns rolls over its loans every night or every few nights in what's known as the repo market. And that gives its lenders an opportunity each night, if they want to call in some of their loans or to demand more collateral. What this amounts to effectively is that investment banks, there's a vote of confidence every night on whether they survive or not.
And that night, the markets were voting no confidence in Bear Stearns. Their stock was dropping, and the cash reserves were beginning to dwindle.
This stuff became a self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of people that perhaps would not have acted in listening to some of the things that were going on said, I can't leave my assets there anymore and I have to take them out.
You're sitting in the middle of an avalanche. What can you do if you're on the side of a mountain and an avalanche comes at you? Now, an avalanche goes, 60 miles an hour? You can't outrun it, right? So what can you do?
The story has continued to mushroom. There are concerns amongst perhaps some foreign
On Thursday, Bear's stock continued to fall, and the reserve was almost completely gone.
By 6 o'clock, it's very clear that they do not have enough money to open the next day. They have 12 to 14 hours to do something unprecedented.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a break. You're listening to Blacks in Business Radio on Black Talk Radio Network. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll be back with the last half in just a second.
Okay.
Black Talk Radio since 2008, providing new black media for the masses.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the last half hour of Blacks in Business Radio. We are talking about the financial a mortgage meltdown from 2008. Earlier, we were joined by Arminda Colon. She told us her story. Feel free to rewind and listen to her story if you missed it. Also, now we are listening to Frontlines Inside the Meltdown. And we're going to have a little brief discussion because, again, we only have 29 minutes left or so to talk about this mortgage crisis. Brother Robert, what do you think about the Frontline story? I mean, were you aware of all of the intricate details that they're talking about? Oh, is he muted? No, he's not.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah. As I was saying, after the fact, I was aware of it, but while it was happening, being involved in it, I had no clue. But afterwards, after the money was gone, and after looking back on hindsight, after there was a couple of really nice, really nice movies that came out that really opened my eyes up to it. And then the documentaries, I was like, wow, man, how did we miss that? I mean, because I say that because there was opportunity there, and by not knowing what was going on, totally missed a chance to really do some big things in that market. You know, I called it as we were listening. I said this wasn't an attack on poor people. This was a grab for all. Whoever wanted to get a loan, everyone got dumped on. This could have been a blessing if we were informed. So I mean, it really was. It just wasn't catered towards poor people. And we want to make that seem like that was an attack on poor black people. No, these people was dumping loans on any and everybody they could, and they was just that company that they were just talking about.
Bear and Stearns.
They got dumped on. Yeah, somebody dumped on them. You know, so this was huge.
Well, let's make sure that we let everybody know if you're listening. Feel free to dial in 704-802-5056 * for any comment. We have a few people on with us. If you guys have a comment, feel free to talk. Otis Griffin's there. He's making comments in the chat box. It says, this was in fact a repeat of the savings and loan crisis. I worked it. All right. Well, Otis, feel free to chime in and tell us about that. But Scotty definitely has a comment. Go ahead, Scotty.
Yes, CC. And this is kind of piggybacking off of something that Robert was talking about. Conservative media was blaming this on black people. They were blaming it on poor black people, saying that they were getting into mortgages that they couldn't afford, saying they couldn't afford them, and then there was no money down. You didn't put any money down, and what have you. And this led, to the banks then bundling all of that and everything they just talked about. But last year, towards the end of last year, I saw information come out on several websites where they were blaming it on house flippers. House flipping got to be a big thing because you had all these different shows on reality TV where these people go and they buy these homes and they, might fix them up a little bit and then flip them. So I read that what happened was that you had a whole bunch of people default on those loans. They were trying to flip houses, but then, I guess their flipping didn't go right and they walked away from a lot of those loans. But the media, the mainstream media, was trying to blame it solely on poor black people bought too much house that they couldn't afford. That's all I wanted to say.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that part of it. Oh, man. Well, clearly it wasn't poor black people because everybody had that situation going on. You could be middle class, rich, whatever. People had that situation going on. Otis, again,
CC.
Go ahead.
Now, this happened with a family member, and I just found this out recently with one of my aunts, who's Ellie. So she asked for help, said that they were going up. I forgot how much it was, $100 on her mortgage, whatever it was. So I know about this organization that help people like that when you get in trouble. Now, she wasn't in trouble. She wasn't behind. She just was wanting help on how can I stop them from keep going up on my mortgage. So I took her to this organization in Charlotte where they give you, little class. They tell you about the different, either the state laws or the federal programs that'll help you if you're behind or try to help you stay in your home. But again, she was not behind on her payments or anything like that. But what we discovered is that they put her in an adjustable rate mortgage. That's why her payment went up. And earlier. They should not have done that because she had A1 credit. And see, the city of Philadelphia being sued right now. I mean, not the city of Philadelphia. The city of Philadelphia is suing Wells Fargo for doing that to black people, where they had good credit, but you put them in these adjustable rate instead of flat rate. That's what happened to my aunt, and we trying to get that squared away.
Yeah. And those things, that ARM mortgage thing, like I said before, that is the reason why I did not get a mortgage. This was like probably 2001 or 2, because I had by chance found out some information on that ARM, and I was like, okay, this is crazy. So that means that it's going to adjust. Well, how much is it going to adjust? Will I be able to afford it? What if I can't afford it? Then what does that mean for me, my children, all my stuff? So I just totally didn't do it. There's got to be a better solution for all these things because it is still happening. I'm not saying they're giving out loans like that anymore, but like Robert said, there is something going on because they got to recoup some money some kind of way. There's definitely some stuff going on, and I think I heard David talking about it in Tando Radio. But yes, people, if you need help, if you are listening to this podcast or podcasting as it goes over the airwaves and you need help, reach out to us. We can definitely try to work on some resources for you, okay? You shouldn't be in this alone. I know we get a little prideful because this is our house. I was like that. This is my house. I'm not leaving my house. This was a blessing. Nobody can tell me nothing. They can tell me that I need to move out of my house. I mean, just totally. We just get in this strange mindset and then we become like an island, but no man is an island. You can only get help if you reach out. So if you're listening to this and you need some help, Arminda's on here. She definitely has some knowledge and information. We are not even claiming to be experts, but we are willing to help you. There's no way you can get the help unless you ask. What do they say? A closed mouth can't get fed. So why don't we just go ahead back into this front line? And again, we'll post it in Blacks in Business Radio if you'd like to watch the full version. So Scotty, go ahead.
In terms of raising emergency capital or go under.
They had one last chance. The Federal Reserve Bank in New York. Tim Geithner was in charge.
Geithner is a Larry Summers protege from Treasury. He worked his way up during the Summers years at Treasury.
He's 47 years old. He looks like he's about 32. Universally liked and respected.
Extremely smart, extremely aware of the stuff. Very discreet, controlled.
And he sort of serves as an intermediary between Washington and Wall Street because he sits in Manhattan, but he works for the Federal Reserve System.
That night, Bear Stearns' fate would be in Tim Geithner's hands.
Geithner's people went to Bear's headquarters and started to look through all the accounts. Geithner told me he initially thought that they should let Bear go under.
By midnight, by 1, 2 in the morning, everybody and their mother has teams at Bear. Morgan, the Fed, the SEC, and they find out Bear is stuffed to the gills with toxic waste.
They found billions in hidden subprime mortgage loans. And something worse. Credit default swaps, a form of insurance. Bear had promised if bonds it insured failed, they would pay.
They were really very mysterious instruments that only the sort of financial wizards understood.
Credit default swap is basically just an agreement that I have with you, where I sell you insurance on some bond you own. If the bond goes belly up, I promise to pay you, and as long as the bond doesn't go belly up, you pay me for selling you insurance.
Geithner's investigators told him that Bear had made credit default swap deals worth hundreds of billions of dollars all over Wall Street and around the world.
Through the night, things changed as the people in the Fed discovered the positions that Bear was in and discovered what would happen if they did go under.
Because Bear Stearns was so indebted to so many other people, their failure to repay their debts or pay their debts would cause a cascade of other failures.
Every single part of Wall Street at this point is plugged into another part of Wall Street. And if I go down, I can now drag down that guy, and if he goes down, he can drag down that guy, and he can drag down that guy, and this is a huge web that connects everyone in these completely unforeseen ways.
They then reported back to Geithner that, look, this is a lot more complicated than it appears.
Geithner saw what central bankers fear most: systemic risk. Bear was frighteningly interconnected with other banks up and down Wall Street. Geithner picked up a phone at 4 in the morning and called his boss at the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke.
Ben Bernanke is a highly, highly respected scholar, and not only a scholar of economics, but of the Great Depression.
If he weren't chairman of the Fed, he'd be top of the list of people you'd be going to for advice and understanding and all this stuff.
On this night, one of the Depression experts' darkest fears was being realized.
Ben Bernanke felt that the risk to the system, the financial system as a whole, would be too great if Bear Stearns were allowed to go bankrupt.
It was clear that this had to be contained. There was no doubt in his mind. He, more than anyone else, appreciated what would happen if it got out of control.
He was absolutely determined to be an activist Fed governor, that when the crisis came along, his Fed had at the problem.
But the Federal Reserve was prohibited from directly lending cash to Bear, an unregulated investment bank. Bernanke was prepared to get around the rules, and he did.
Very early in the morning, the Federal Reserve has a conference call. Ben Bernanke's on it, Tim Geithner is on it, among others.
They eventually came up with this idea of giving a loan to J.P. Morgan, which was Bear's clearing bank, and having J.P. Morgan pass on the cash to Bear so indirectly lending to them via JP Morgan.
We have important news to share with you about Bear Stearns, a company that I've been reporting on all week. We interviewed
It was about 8:30 that they announced the deal.
Let me share with you this press release that has just hit. The Federal Reserve Bank and JP Morgan Chase announced that they have agreed to provide secured funding to Bear Stearns as necessary.
Make no mistake, the Federal Reserve is bailing out Bear Stearns, and they're using JP Morgan as a conduit to do it.
But Bernanke's unprecedented plan almost immediately backfired.
Because Bear Stearns was the only one to get that treatment, obviously the Fed was sending a message, this is an institution that's about to fail. So to single them out, in a sense, was to virtually assign them to a death sentence.
People are starting to trade this company as if its entire fate is totally in question at this point.
At the opening at 9:30, you promptly had basically a 50% sell-off in the stock.
At 10 o'clock Eastern time, and Bear Stearns hit $30, and people sort of gasped as it hit $30. And two things that was going around. Number one, Bear Stearns now has a market cap of $3.7 billion, smaller than half.
In Washington, at the Treasury Department, the Secretary, Henry Paulson, was also beginning to worry about systemic risk.
Paulson was picturing a 1,000 to 2,000 point drop in the Dow that Monday, possibly the failure in very short order of a number of other investment banks, Lehman Brothers, Morgan Stanley, and so on. Paulson just thought that the uncertainty was too great.
Paulson thought he knew the markets well. Only 2 years before, he had run Bear's largest competitor.
Henry Paulson came from Goldman Sachs. He was the chief executive officer. Came up through the investment banking world.
Okay, let's stop right there. We only got a few minutes to go. So I think we have some comments. Again, if you're here and you would like to say something before the show ends about this YouTube video from Frontline, feel free to do so. Press star to come on in. Robert, I think you had a comment. Okay. Are you muted? No, you're not muted. You must have muted your own self.
Here I am. I had myself muted, but I'm hoping that Brother Rashid is on the line 7986. I just want to see.
No, he is not. I would have definitely told you he's not.
Oh, okay. Well then, what did I write down? I had a few questions I wanted to ask. Find out myself. What does it mean to be an unregulated investment bank? Which is one of the things I heard in that last segment. And then these credit
sounds like a whole lot of leeway for me if you say somebody is an unregulated investment bank. You know, because what we like unregulated businesses. So an unregulated investment bank, dude,
that's backed by the government. That's crazy. You know,
yeah.
That the government wants to, and then now this credit default swaps. See, one thing about creating mortgage loans, as this really just enlightened me. I just got this because create mortgage notes is something that I was taught by the brother I was just hoping that was on the line. Now I got to find this out. Insuring the mortgage notes that I create. See, just by listening to this gave me a whole nother insight on how to move forward in the actual creating the mortgage for our people, and then to insure it for myself. So the same win that they got from doing it on a much larger level, we can use that information, just like I just said, and use it for our own security on the level that we exist on. I won't say a smaller level, on the level that we're playing it on. And that's exactly what I'm going to find out this week, because that whole lecture, that series that you've been playing, see, that's really a study, a for real financial study that needs to be in all the churches and all the mosques and all the synagogues and all the kingdom halls and at all these different meeting places where we meet and gather as black people. That's the type of stuff that going forward with the black economic agenda that we need to have a dialogue on, so that we are astute and in tune with the Caucasian systems, but we use that system for good. But we have to master, we have to learn it, just like Malcolm mastered the English language and could never be defeated in a debate by mastering their language. We have to master their systems by getting in the know of everything that's intricately involved in these systems, learn it. And that's what I came up with tonight, by listening to this. I'm going to find out if there are, and I'm sure there are, some insurance that will I could get to secure my mortgage notes that I create.
You can get insurance for anything. I mean, you really can.
Exactly.
It's all in the wording. It's still all in the wording. You know, if you word things correctly, I mean, you can get it. Because, I mean, I was looking for something the other day. I don't remember what it was. But, yes, there was insurance for it. But, I mean, you just have to find a person with the know-how, you know, that's willing to work with you in getting it going. And I wouldn't even necessarily recommend like a big company, like somebody we know that's with a smaller company like Yolanda Spivey. You know, she'll you know, do the work to find it.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Well, first, myself and Otis posted answer to Robert's question: what is unregulated banking? Now, they chose to use the term unregulated banking, but the term that, and me and Otis got it from two different sources, but it's more accurately called shadow banking. So it's a shadow banking system, refers to the financial intermediaries involved in facilitating the creation of credit across the global financial system, but whose members are not subject to regulatory oversight. The shadow banking system also refers to unregulated activities by regulated institutions. Now, here's my question, and this might be something good for another program. Insurance. You just brought up the insurance. So again, my aunt, going back to my aunt, she got an increase in her housing insurance, $50. And it said a cost of living increase. And I'm like, what kind of cost of living do an insurance policy need? I mean, what? That didn't make no sense to me. And I still have not found out, because my aunt didn't get back to me, but I was like telling her that the state of North Carolina, you can call and get information from them and ask them, because they might, that sound kind of shady to me.
Well, the insurance commissioner is who you need to call. That's where you need to go. That's the top dog when you got some issues with some insurance, is the commissioner of your state.
Right. And that's what the information I relayed to her. So I'm gonna have to do some follow up with her. You know how some of our elderly people, you know, they'll forget stuff and just put it to the side. But that, I had never heard of a cost of living increase for insurance. Come on.
And if you don't fight it, they're going to continue to do it. You know, that's one of those things they get away with until you say, wait a minute, what is this? And then they'll be like, oh, yeah. And it can be removed. You know, it's just all about wording, all about games. And like Brother Robert was talking about, you know, we don't know the game. And so we are just totally X'd out, and we get bamboozled into all kind of different situations. And it's just totally unnecessary at this late date, because we have to become knowledgeable about these systems that we fall under. You know, we're in systems every single day of our lives, but we have to know how they work intricately so that we can get the best life possible and not be shafted over and over again, and teach our children not to be shafted over and over again, because that's what happens. Generation upon generation, we're building debt. We're getting things taken away. We're having our lives, you know, shifted around and around, you know, for no reason. And it's just because we don't have the knowledge and understanding of what it is that we need to be doing.
And the thing that gets me is, again, we start thanking God, whom would never instruct us to do some of the financial stuff that we're doing.
Well, you keep saying that, but you know, that's just, there's no big cap that you can put on that. Yes, I get what you're saying as far as like thanking God to be in debt or in a mortgage or, you know, whatever, but we are living in a world that there is mortgage and debt. And we know that things can happen beyond that mortgage and debt. And you have to continue to thank God. But you have to thank God for actually being delivered from the lie. I think that's what we really need to thank God for right now at this time, if you're listening to this program.
Because I know the Caucasian loves it when we go into the bank or the title company, just like the guy on the Facebook thing was talking about. He got a title loan and he was so happy. But he was thanking God. But see, my point is that, see, this Caucasian, our open enemy to as black people, have been taught backwards. The training we have gotten has been twisted. So we give glory to the Creator for things that He would never tell us to give Him glory for. That's not His creation, and we don't have enough knowledge to understand that these things that appear as a blessing are not a blessing from God. And we have to come into correct information and then have discipline about ourselves to not continue to keep making those mistakes, because God is not in the business of setting us up for failure.
Well,
He'll set up for failure because we have a lack of correct information, and that's bottom line. Our mathematics is off, and that's what it is.
Right. Well, there's many dynamics to that once you get into how God works. We definitely know that, and we only have no minutes left to really get into that conversation. But we are definitely destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That is exactly what the word says. So we hope that everyone listening has received the knowledge and information that they need to make a change in their lives concerning mortgage, credit, debt. If you want more information, feel free to listen to our show every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Also listen to us on podcast. Just go to www.blacktalkradionetwork.com, search for Blacks in Business Radio or BIB Radio, and listen to our 2 years of shows that should show up there. And listen to the other programming on the network. Before us is Dave Wren with Pando Radio. And there's so many other shows that you would enjoy. So listen to us every week on Black Talk Radio Network. I think that's all. We'll talk to you all next week. Good night.
Good night.